Hi, my name is Bhanu Prakash. I'm having a 10 years of experience, 10 years plus of experience in Oracle technologies, as well as the Spring Boot application. I have worked extensively on the Spring framework, Spring Boot, Spring microservices, etc. So today in today's session, I am going to explain about the Spring Boot. This is the introductory session where I will be going through the what is the advantage of going for the Spring Boot application, what are the features of the Spring Boot application, and finally I will show a sample, just a basic sample how to build a simple Spring Boot application. Okay, just to give me So Spring Boot in one line. Spring Boot lets you build standalone production grade Spring application with a minimal setup. Okay, so this is the just to specify what is the Spring Boot in one line. So core philosophy, convention over configuration, reduces need of XML configuration by providing a sensible defaults, allowing developers to focus on business logic rather than the boilerplate setup. Okay, so the people who have worked on the Spring, they know the pain points what are the have been faced. Okay, especially the older version, everything you have to do in the XML configuration. Okay, where you have to specify all the beans. Okay, what is the auto configuration, there is a database configuration, there is a huge XML, and it's very difficult. As the project grows, it's very difficult to manage that XML. The people who have worked on the older version of Spring, this thing, but Spring Boot have been resolved like auto configuration, and that avoids all the boilerplate code. Okay, and rather than concentrate mainly on the focus on the business logic. The next one is optionated defaults, making reasonable choice of for project structure and dependencies, providing a guided path that helps developer make progress quickly. Okay, in Spring, if let me assume that we know this is the main pain point in the Spring. Suppose if I want to develop a Spring and there is a dependencies, let me assume that some database dependencies, okay, the jars or all those stuff. So I have to make sure that whatever the Spring MVC, I have to add those jars, and correct version I have to add. Okay, if you add this, then there is a compatible issues where it comes. But whereas if you come this, we have this dependencies and everything, it's a quick, we will see that more in the coming slides. Rapid bootstrap enables quick project setup with starters including necessary dependencies, this I was talking about, allowing developers to start the minimum effort. You can easily start your developing with the minimum effort. You go and add the required dependencies, and remaining everything is taken care of by the Spring Boot. Production ready for dev. This includes like you have an accurator feature where it provides like metrics, health checks, how the endpoints monitoring, how it is performing, all those stuff easily you can see in the production environments. The next one, what problem does the Spring Boot solve? Okay, eliminates XML configuration that I was talking about. It all now it's all annotation based and Java based. Avoids manual server setup. Previously, if you remember the Spring, where you develop it, you make a jar using the Maven or Ant scripts, then go and deploy in any server. Okay, WebLogic or Tomcat. But now Spring Boot comes with the embedded servers like Tomcat, Jetty, etc., where you can directly use those. Removes dependency complexity, this I was talking about. Simplify the class path management and optional starters and auto configuration. The next one is the reduces development time. So using the Spring Boot, the main aim is quickly develop your application and go and deploy it. Okay, so it avoids all those boilerplate, concentrate only on your business logic. The important Spring Boot modules, these are the some of the Spring Boot modules. One is the Spring Boot core module, this is. The next one is the auto configuration logic, automatically configures your Spring application based on your class path settings. Spring Boot starters, predefined dependencies. Okay, there are n number of starters which out of box it providing, like web, next one is the security, or etc. The Spring Boot Accurator, which is basically, as I told, it helps in your health metrics monitoring capabilities, whether your server is up and what are the endpoints you are using, okay, and what is the configurations you have done, etc. Thread dumps you can take, all those stuff. And Spring Boot dev tools. The advantage of the Spring Boot dev tools is if you are doing the change, you need not every time restart the server. Automatically it gets the changes get reflected. That is called hot reloads. Development support which enhance developer experience during the development. So starter dependencies examples: web, security as I told for authorization and authentication, mail, if you want to send the mail capabilities if you want. Data JPA, this is basically a database. If you are extending a JPA, what actually happens is all these database operations you can easily do. For example, I want to query based on the ID. You need not write code for that, okay, and automatically it will come for you. Just you specify find by ID, you pass the ID, it retrieves the particular object for you. Caching, this is important feature, application caching. Bean validations, if you want to validate your bean within the bean and everything, it provides out of box feature for you. Bootstrap methods, Spring initialize. So there are two ways of doing it. One is directly via ID, like STS ID, you can specify those. The other way is you can go to the Spring IO, where you can specify your package and you can dependencies you can add, for example web, security, etc. And you can download it, open that project, like import that project in your Eclipse, and you are ready. IDE support, these are the famous IDEs which it supports: Eclipse, STS, IntelliJ. This is automation and auto-rate the build process. Yeah, you can either go with the Maven, Gradle, okay, etc. The next one is profiles in the Spring Boot. The profiling is really very important concept in the Spring Boot. Let me assume that I have a environment specific property file I want to put. For example, if I'm doing the local development, my properties will be different, okay. When it's come to the testing environment, maybe the in-memory database, all those stuff you can use. When it goes to the production, then connection pooling, production, etc., all those stuff. And this is the example how you call. For example, your Spring profile activate, then automatically dev specific configuration file it picks up, and whatever you have configured the dev specific, it will pull it, okay. And next one is common auto configuration components, database connection, auto configuration for connection pools, data sources specific, web MVC components, Spring MVC auto configure includes view resolvers, message converters, etc. JSON automatically configuration for Jackson or JSON to handle JSON serializations and deserializations, automatically converts the JSON into the object using the object mapper, etc. Security filters for authentication and authorization, auto configuration, security filters, okay. If you want to see more information on this security, you can watch my other video which I have given what is a role based RBAC, like role based authentication, okay. Role based, and the next one then how based on your permission you can access a particular resource, okay, and who has a particular role only access the particular resource endpoint. Logging system, it comes with out of box logging features where you can specify what is a log configuration, either debug or whether it is a you can info, etc. JPA repositories, as I told, when you extend the JPA repository, it automatically out of box it features you can save, if you can query based on the ID, query based on the name, and you can give the combinations, okay. All those terms you can do via the JPA repository. These are the embedded servers which comes inbuilt: Tomcat, Jetty. Based on your choice you can go, but most popular people will go with the Tomcat, okay. Benefits: no external installations, run application without server setup, etc. Accurator capabilities. What are the Accurator? As I told, health monitoring, provides application health information, includes status check for database, disk space, etc. Matrix exposure, exposure relevant metrics about your application, including HTTP request, garbage collection, memory usage, and more. Environment properties, what is that you have configured for this, all those terms at the runtime you can see. Thread dumps, suppose there is some issue where there is a serious issue and you want to do the analysis what's happening easily, you can take the thread dumps. HTTP request tracing, how the HTTP requests are going, all those stuff it will capture. Additional benefits, zero code changes request, accurate endpoints are secured by default, easily enable and disable specific endpoints, etc. And here is the Spring Boot application lifecycle. These are the different 7 steps we can think of. Create Spring application, this is the instantiate. Prepare the environment, what are the environment properties, application.properties you have from a YAML file, all those stuff. Load the context, application context, all this will be get loaded in your context. Triggering the auto configurations, whatever the next step is, whatever you have specified in the configurations while the server is getting startup, all those they get loaded in your container. The next one is the start server. Okay, embedded server like Tomcat, everything, it will start the servers. Execute run application command, execute runners, and your application is ready. Okay, the complete application setup process from creation to the readiness. Login, as I told, default configuration Spring Boot log back. Okay, configurable property where you can specify this application.properties or application in .yaml file. Structure login, and if you want a different logging like debug info log levels, you can set it. And also the format you can specify, like when that log has been generated, all those stuff. Logware provides a different appendix for the file and console output. And RESTful, building the scalable and testable RESTful service, Spring Boot in real world. Microservices, this is very, very important. Like you can develop your microservice and ready go and deploy. Okay, each microservice will be performing, it has its own server, it has its own auto configuration, etc. Background schedulers, okay, implementing the scheduling task asynchronous process with the Spring scheduler annotation, etc. Cloud native applications, creating the portable applications platform and cloud boot ecosystem, and accurate endpoints. Summary, zero configuration approach like reduces XML. Spring ecosystem integration, Spring seamless compatible with the existing Spring projects. Modern application development, ideal for the distributed systems, offer embedded servers and production ready features for cloud environment, enhance productivity, reduces the boilerplate code, and you can more concentrate on your business logic rather than the boilerplate code. Okay, so these are the some of the high level features. Just I have explained why we have to go for the Spring. So I have prepared some notes which will be similar, but some more information I have just added, so we can go through that notes which will be helpful for you. Okay, so this is same thing, but I will go a little bit fast because it covers whatever we have covered in the PPT. It covers the same thing. So Spring Boot is a framework built on top of your Spring. The backbone of this, it's built on your Spring only. Okay, key idea is to eliminate the boilerplate code, ready to use, auto configurations, automatically configure the common use components like data source, JPA, Tomcat, etc. Embedded servers, these are some of the embedded servers. Tomcat, JT, already we have seen. Starter dependency, these are some of the starter dependencies. Starter boot web, where directly it comes with the web, where you can write your REST service, MVC, etc. Data JPA, if you have some database operations where you want to find a resource, add, delete, etc., you can use. Spring City for authentication and authorizations. Production ready features, Accurator provides, we have already seen, like health checks, metrics, performance monitoring. It's a very easy deployment where you can generate a jar file and go and deploy in your Tomcat automatically. Rapid development, ideal for the microservice and REST APIs. Spring Boot architecture, boot starters, Spring auto configuration, embedded server, and Spring code, IOC and AOP. Okay, and like aspect oriented containers, IOC containers. How Spring Boot works. This is a simple example. Whenever you include the Spring Boot, automatically it includes this. It includes configuration, auto configurations, component scan, all those stuff. Here this is a simple, it's ready. Just you start basic, automatically whenever you start it performs all those stuff. Auto configuration, you have to specify in the class path. Okay, example h2 database. If you want to use in memory, you can use. Here are the some of the starters like Spring Boot starter web, where basically this is the for the MVC and the REST applications. ORM, the Hibernate. Okay, and Spring Boot security authentication authorization. Test, for example, you can go for the Mockitos and write the unit test cases for it. Okay. Spring Boot, the difference between the Spring Boot at a high level setup, it's a very complex in Spring, but Spring Boot zero configuration, server, external, but it comes with the embed, auto configuration. The deployment process is build is very slow, but here it's very fast. Microservice, very hard to implement microservice, but Spring Boot it's very easy. Dependency injection reduces the dependency pain. Embedded servers, already we have seen this. And here is, if you want to, as I told, easily you can go to the Spring IO, you can specify what is the package, and you can add your dependency, and you can download the zip file, and whatever the IDE you can easily open and test it. Okay. This is a simple example, hello controller. This is the first, the main aim of today's is just an introduction, and I'll be keep on, whenever I get a time, I will be keep on adding the videos for you people, so that just each topic, it's a short videos. I'll be not creating big videos, short, where we will be just seeing the concept, and with a simple examples we will try to understand the concepts. Okay. Here is some of the application properties, where the port you can specify. If your default port will be 8080, if you want to change the port, you can specify what is the port. And if you have some data source URL, Hibernate related, DDL auto update, Spring Boot, microservice application, banking. These are the, it is almost in all domains the Spring Boot is nowadays used. Banking domain, e-commerce, cloud native, enterprise, etc. Conclusion: Spring Boot simplifies the Java development by providing automated configurations, embedded the server, start dependencies, rapid development, etc. So let me see a simple example. Okay, so just I have built a simple example where you can see the for the demo purpose. Okay, so I'm going through the POM file. So this I have generated via Spring IO. Just downloaded from that, and here you can see the Java version is 17 I'm using, and the Spring Boot version is I'm using 3.5.7. and next one is the Spring Boot Dev Tools. Okay, for it is a friendly development. Whenever you are doing the changes, you need not restart the server, automatically it will get changes. And here you can see the Spring Boot, the test, where you can write for the Mockitos. Here this is the application where it comes with, here you can see the target Spring Boot configuration, enable auto configurations, okay, etc. These are the all comes with the auto box feature. Okay, and here this is the run, you can run the application. Okay, the next one is, this is the where I can concentrate more on my business. Here the REST controller I have written, user controller, and here you can specify the hello. Just this is my first where you can specify hello world. The next one is just you can pass as the path parameter. What are the path parameter? It takes and prints it, just to show simple this one. For example, here it's a hello. Click on the thing. This is a postman get operation. Here you can say hello world for Spring Boot, and next one is if I give Sai here, it displays hello Sai. Oh sorry, hello slash. Okay, here you can see that hello Sai, the endpoint, this thing, whatever the message you give, it just displays. Okay, this is just an introduction, main introduction of what is a Spring Boot and why we have to go for the Spring Boot and the features. Just I try to cover in a a small video. And one more important feature which I want to show you, one way is you go to the Spring IO default application. The other way is go to here Spring Starter project, where it gives the Maven. Here you can say what is the Java version, you can select. Okay, different Java versions, you can select it. Okay, for now I have selected a 17, and here you can see group and the snapshot, and here you can explain about the, what is the project about, and here you can see the common OP demo, and click on the next, and here you can select the dependency. For example, I want to add the dependency of the web. Here here you can see Spring Web you can add, and suppose I want one more, just a sample, I'm taking DevTools. Okay, here you can see here Spring Boot DevTools where you can add, and finally you click on the finish, so that it's ready for you. Just I have done. Here you can see the example, and let me see the advantage of DevTools. Just I'm clearing here, and you do some changes. Hello Mr. something, if I give, so here, and save this, so automatically the hot deployment happens. Here you can see the Spring Boot, so you need not restart the server, and directly I can go and test my application. Hello Mr. Sai or something, it will display here, you can see. Okay, so this is the just an example I have given. So I will be covering more topics once whenever I have a time, maybe some topics I will be covered. So this is just an introduction what is the Spring Boot about.